Hey everybody, welcome to Fab Fit Friday. I'm excited to be back. I had a wonderful time in Indiana, and it was really kind of cool because the weather was great when I got there. As a matter of fact, I walked to lunch on Saturday with just a sleeveless top on and jeans. And then on Sunday we woke up to flurries and like total winter temperature, so it was quite like weather whiplash, but we had a wonderful time, and happy to be back. And I'm super excited because in addition to going on that workshop last week, one of my sewing friends gifted me some fabric. And I was thinking about doing a holiday dress sew along, and this fabric happens to be a little bit dressy. So I've designed a simple dress, and I'm going to show you my built-in camouflage seam detail to make a sort of a fit and flare dress with a high neckline. I may put a keyhole opening in the front, and I may add like a really luxe ribbon around the waist seam and tie it in the back. Hey Janie, welcome. So I'm kind of excited because then I'll have something to wear on the holidays. So let me start by showing you the fabric. And it's kind of funky fabric. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it initially, but let me just show you here. I'm going to zoom in and switch my view. Okay, so I'm going to blow out the lighting so you can see it. Okay, so basically it's a black, very, very firm knit, and I would say mechanical give versus any real stretch. So I'm going to treat this like a woven. It's got it's got the same. It's got a little bit of stretch going this way, and it's got a little bit, I'm not even going to say stretch. It's got mechanical give in both directions. And the thing that's really cool about it is it has this very subtle, let me just get this really zoomed in here, very subtle little beads or little plastic balls and little sparkles that are basically fused onto the surface of the fabric. So it's black, but it's not a basic black. So I thought I would make a holiday dress with this, and I'm going to do some testing in terms of how a sewing machine needle will deal with this. I might have to break the beads on the seam lines. Just trying to see here if they pick off. Let me just try to, I haven't played with this at all yet, but I may have to figure out how to get rid of some of these beads right on the seams if it's going to break a needle. But it's a kind of a cool fabric, and I think it's very festive. So that's what I'm going to do. The other thing I like about this fabric is because it's a knit, I'm going to go ahead and put it over here so you can see. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So I can cut right through the beaded area. See, I cut right through the beaded area. But you'll notice it makes a nice, smooth cut. So I'm not going to have to worry about finishing the edge of the hem, because it cuts and it makes a very nice, smooth edge. So the one thing I am going to deal with is wondering about these beads and my needle. So I'm going to do a test. Hey Victoria, welcome. So that's the fabric I'm going to use. I'll let you look at it one more time. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to cut a little square right here. So if people coming in later ask, I can just show the little square. I'll keep that over here, but I'm going to wrap the rest up. It's on a bolt. So I'm going to roll this back up, and we're going to move on to the design for my dress now. So let me fix my lighting for this. Hey Terry, welcome. All right, so let me get this darker here. Okay, so this is what I decided I want to do with this. Now, I had to think about the fabric itself and how the fabric is going to act. This fabric is not soft and drapey. You can see it's a pretty, again, it's a firm knit fabric, so it's not going to be soft and drapey. So it's not anything I wanted to create gathers or create any bulky details. Okay, so thinking of the fabric, what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to create a straight dress. I'm going to do a fitted long sleeve because I was really happy with the way the sleeve fit on my DittoForm draping pattern sloper that I have now. So it's going to have a long sleeve that's very fitted. It's going to have an empire waist seam, and the reason why I chose the empire waist seam is because I have a belly, and I do not want my belly to be popping out of a fitted, straight dress. Hey Mary, you're watching but working on bread dough in the kitchen, cinnamon swirl bread. Ooh, that sounds delish. Delish, delish, delish. Mary is quite the prolific baker. I'm just going to let everyone know that. She makes yummy stuff all the time. Okay, so what I did here was I showed the front. So you can see it's very basic. I don't know if I'm going to put that little keyhole in there or not, but I am going to make it a sort of a very high neck, I think. But here's the thing. Like, if I decide I don't want to do a high neck later, I can always scoop it out and change it. So for now, it's going to have a high neck. And in the back, high neck, center back seam, center back zipper. And then this is a ribbon that I may tie around the empire waist. Now, again, why am I doing empire waist? I am doing empire waist because I sort of shadowed in here. I want to just zoom in a little bit so you can see. This is my body. Okay, so I made a custom sloper here. So you can see my belly is right here and my behind is right there. I don't know if my back arches quite that much, but I've dashed in the negative space between the outside of the dress and my body. And what I've talked about this before. Hi Judy, welcome. I'm working with this fabric. I know it's black, but let me just blow it out so you can see it. You can see it's got some beading detail to it, see? And it's got mechanical give. It's a knit, but it's not really stretchy. Obviously, I mean, the knit itself is not stretchy, but also adding the fused beadwork on here would make it even less stretchy. So it is a knit, but it's not, it just has mechanical give. So I've talked about this before with, creating garments that are flattering. If I want a long, slender dress, I have to make some camouflage for my belly because otherwise it'll stick out here and I really don't want the fabric pulling at my belly. So what I want you to notice here is if I put the empire waist seam at the bottom of my bust, meaning not under my bust, but like at the butt, I'm going to place the underarm under the empire waist on the underside of my bust curve where it sticks out away from my body. So when it falls from that area, it'll skim over my tummy. Okay, so that's how I'm hiding the fact that I have a belly, and I think that will make it more flattering. So I just wanted to show the silhouette. That's why I put the side view. There's obviously a side seam and then the back seam. So that's what I'm going to design. And let me just say hi to Khaki Muse watching from Portugal. I love to sew and I love your solution for a belly. Yes, well, I've been working on my belly. I have to admit it is shrinking a little bit, but it's still there. Maybe by Easter I'll be able to make something that has an actual waist seam. We'll see if that keeps going. But, you have to love your shape how it is, and obviously to get through the holidays I could make this and then I'll feel comfortable in it and I won't feel self-conscious. Hey Paulette, welcome. Hey Pat. Pat's scan and cut is running a monotonous task. Glad to have a great live to watch. I saw a similar fabric in a short reel from Fabric Mart this week. Oh, you guys, Fabric Mart had a sale on their Ponte knit. Well, they're knits. And so I bought some Ponte knit to make some Christmas gifts for, well, birthday and Christmas gifts for my friend for her daughter. And there was a denim colored one, and by the time I got home to order it for us, it was already sold out. But Fabric Mart's been having some amazing sales. I don't think this fabric was from Fabric Mart though, because she's had it in her stash for a while. I mean, maybe she did, I don't know, but it came on the roll. So it leads me to believe that she got it someplace else because it came on this roll. But anyway, we're going to see how this works. I'm excited to get some fabric, and then I'm also excited to know what I want to use it for as well. So it's not going to go in my stash. It's going to go right in my house, and then it's going to go right into this. Now, speaking of that Ponte knit, I have Ponte knit that I can make a mini version of this dress first, and you know I'm going to put it on my mini ditto form to test it to make sure I like it, and then I'm going to blow the pattern up 200%, or I'll just use my full-size pieces. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I want to work in the half scale first. Oh, Judy says that's lovely fabric, thank you. Pat says, Mary, I have heavy cream and could whip up some homemade butter. Oh, I love you guys. I love that. Oh my gosh. All right. So, what have I been perusing through? In addition, I've been perusing through my holiday edition of my King Arthur flower catalog. I may restock all of my icings this year and get some yummy things that I can make my decorative sugar cookies look a little more exciting. But I have been looking through this for my holiday baking plans, in case anyone was wondering. All right, so now we're going to get these pieces here. So what I did was I cut off the seam allowances. Oh, hey, Erin. Erin was at the workshop, and she said she can confirm that the workshop in Indianapolis was amazing. Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you for joining. And since you're here, I'm going to show your socks, if that's okay. Erin is an amazing knitter. She wore a handmade sweater, hand knitted sweater every day. And I just want to show you, in addition to the sweaters, she made these beautiful socks. And so I'm going to try to make socks. Oops, here we go. I'm going to try to make socks so I can wear Birkenstocks with socks in the winter. I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to try socks for the first time. And Erin is the one that inspired me to try that. So there you go. Pat says, Jen, your vlog on raglan sleeves sway back work like a charm. Oh, thank goodness. I'm so happy to hear that. Yay. I hate it when I see, if I'm in public somewhere and I see somebody that has a puddle of fabric in the small of their back, it's like I want to run over there and tell them how to fix it. Okay, here are my pieces. So what did I do with for these pieces? Let me just make this sharp. Maybe a little less bright. Okay, that's better. Maybe like that. Okay, so these are the pieces, and we have to remember what these pieces are covering. So I'm gonna go to my face cam for a minute here and just show you. You can see that this, these pieces go about 3 inches below my waist, which is up here. So my waist is here. So I know that these pieces on the table represent this bodice with the fitted sleeve that fits me, extending 3 inches past the waist. And now you need to know that, because when you're drafting something new, you got to have a reference for, you know, what you're working with. So I'm just going to make a note here that I'm just going to make a note. Waist is 3 inches up, you know, just to keep that in my mind. Waist 3 inches up. Waist 3 inches up. Okay, so I've got that. Now I've already located where I'm going to put the empire waist in these pattern pieces, what I did was I measured on my full size where my apex is, and then I cut that measurement in half to find out where it needs to go on a half scale. Because remember, these pieces, if you blow them up 200%, they become full size. So if something needs to be 3 inches full size, 1.5 inches is what it would drop from the armhole. And remember, my seam allowances are not included. I cut all the seam allowances off this. And what I'm going to do here is now I am going to label them so I don't make a mistake. So this is going to be my center back. I'm going to use this Sharpie. This is my center back, you know, side back, side back. This is going to be my, you know, back, front, and then side front, and then my center front. Just so I keep, you know, keep everything knowing what I'm doing. Because now I'm going to cut all these little pieces apart. And before I cut them apart, I'm going to want to, I'm just going to give myself a notch here. So in the front, I'm going to do single notches, and I'm just going to put them in the middle, just like this. Whoops. For reference. And in the back, I'm going to do 2. We'll do them like this, just so I have a guide for where these, you know, once I cut them apart. If you're going to cut pieces apart, it's a good idea to give yourself a guide of where they were before you did that. So let's work with the back first. So I'm going to cut apart these pieces like this. Okay, so obviously anywhere that I cut apart pieces, you need to add seam allowances. And that's why I decided, instead of like trying to remember which edges had seam allowances and which ones didn't, I know I need to add seam allowances everywhere before I cut this out of fabric. So that's why there are no seam allowances here, and I'll add them later. Now, the first thing I'm wondering is, do I want to create a situation where I don't have a princess seam all the way to the top, meaning if I tape these together, and for now I'm just going to put a sew tight there to hold it, I mean, that could be my waist dart, right? And then it would be like this if it were still sewn together. I mean, that's a giant dart. But I mean, I could, you know, put these together here so I eliminate the princess seam. And I think I'm going to try that because of all of that beading work, I want to eliminate some of the seams if I can. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to try that and see how that works. Now, that's going to mean that when well, I'm going to have a seam here. So what I do down here does not have to agree with what I did over here. So for example, I could have the princess seams going down to the bottom, or I could straighten this out a little bit and make this all one piece as well. So I think, or I could go like this and make it I could go like this and have a dart, almost like creating a waist dart. I mean, it's bigger at the top because of the shape of my upper back and how that worked out. But I could, maybe I'll do it like this. You know, I could create a waist dart and then make this all one piece going down to the skirt, because then I'll have less seams. And I think I might try that. So I'm going to go ahead and tape these together here as well. I'm just going to put a piece of tape right here. So I've gotten rid of the princess seam, and when I sew these two together, it then will create a waist dart for shaping. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to take a piece of fabric here, a piece of paper. And I'm going to tape the top of my, or the bottom of my bodice piece on. But before I do that, I'm going to draw a center back seam on this paper. So I have that ready to go. Like that. And then, and actually, because that's straight, I think maybe I'll make a guideline over here too. I'm just trying to take advantage of the grid on here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this right here like this so it's straight. Oh, wait a minute. Look at what I did, dummy. My center back is over here. Sorry about that. Let me make it over here. Okay, hold on. Center back is on this side. There's my center back. So now when I tape this, I'm going to make sure this stays in line with that. So it's going to be, well, I'm not going to tape it, but basically that's how that's going to sew back together, right? So this is going to be my center back right here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm taping this. Sorry. All right, I'm sorry, I have all these little pieces. All right, so I'm taping this, which is the bottom of the bodice, and I want to make sure that this stays in line. So I'm going to put this ruler right here along my center back edge, and I'm just going to make sure this stays straight with that, like this, and then I can tape this on like this. So you can see what I've created now is a single piece, if that makes sense. Oops, let me make this a little darker. Okay, I'm sorry I have that little, that's from my window. My sunshine is shining in right here. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've got the piece. Now, this is where the side seam is, right over here. And I can see I've already funked up this paper. I'm just going to cut this neat. I should have given myself more room. So I'm just going to cut this little edge off. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit more paper because we're going to have to make sure that I can create some nice flare here. Now, because this is a half scale pattern, I know that I can make the hem. If I'm going to cut it out, each piece separate, I could make the hem, this fabric is, let me just measure the width of this fabric. I should have done that before I came on, but we'll just measure it quick. So the width of this fabric is, and I think I have a tape measure here, right here, so I can just measure it. Oops. All right, so I'm just going to go straight across here. Well, actually, if I fold it in half, then I only have to measure half. Let me just fold it in half. Oh, and then I obviously also need to figure out how much fabric I actually have. I didn't do that either. Okay, so this is half the width of the fabric right now. So let's see how wide it is. So this is, so it's 40 inches wide. So that means my hem can only be, well, I mean, if I cut each piece out separately, it could be pretty wide because I could do 40, 40. I could do 80 inches in the back. I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm going to keep my total hem to, let's say 60 inches, 30 inches in the front and 30 inches in the back. And while I'm now thinking about this, because it's on a roll, I never checked. Oh, I might not have enough. I don't know. I thought I had a ton. I might have to make this a shorter dress. Let's see. Let me measure how much yards I have. I mean, you know, when you go shopping, you buy fabric, you know how much you have, but when it's gifted to you, let's see. So I'm just going to use my cutting thing here. So there's 1 yard, 2 yards, Okay, so I have 2.5 yards, it looks like. Yeah, I have 2.5 yards of fabric. So that means it's not going to be a maxi dress. It's going to be as long as I could manage it. All right, now that I've measured it, I might have to change my plan, or I might have to find another fabric to coordinate with it, because I only have 2.5 yards of fabric. So let me just work on this design, and then I'll try to figure out what I'm going to do with the fabric here. So basically, if this is the half scale pattern, and I want to keep my hem to 30 inches, that means half of the back would be 15 inches, which means half of this would be 7.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and draw myself from my empire waist. I'm going to use the tape measure to measure me. And let me just put my other thing on here. All right, so I'm just going to measure from my approximate empire waist, which is approximately, now when I go to the side, you can see it's going to be like up here. Like I'm talking about putting it like right here, you know, just on the underside of the curve. So the skirt piece, let's say I would need 48 inches. So that's 48 inches. So that's 24 inches would be half of that for the half scale. And then, so let me just write this down. So if I wanted, let me write it on here. So if I wanted a 48 inch skirt, half that is 24 inches. So that's the total length of the skirt for the half scale. And obviously, this is not 24 inches. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so I'm going to cut it off at 15 for the sample. And because I know I'm not making it the full length, that'll bring me to 60 inches if it were doubled, which would bring me pretty close. Well, it'd be 20 inches. Wait, what am I saying? 15, I'm sorry, 30 inches, which is, you know, probably a little bit past my knee. So instead of spreading this 7.5, well, I'm going to spread it 7.5 inches anyway. So let me just do 7.5 inches here, which puts me right here. So I am going to measure my center back from the bottom of this down, and I get 12 and 3/8. So I am going to continue. I'm going to put a line like this, and I'm going to swing this over until it's 12 and 3/8. So what I'm doing is I'm creating the hem at the side seam to be equal to the hem at the center back. So I'm going to draw a line, but I'm going to swing my ruler around until this part of the ruler hits this line at 12 and 3/8. So right here is 12 and 3/8. So now I'm going to just draw this line. So you can see what happens is it stopped right here. So you can see it's a little bit lower than, I mean, it's a little bit above the straight line. And that's because this is on a little bit of an angle. So I'm going to get my little plastic ruler, my little curve, and I can go ahead and create the hem like this. Because you can see it has to come up something like this from straight. So see how that worked? So that's how you can get the side seam and the center back to match. Okay, so I've drafted the whole bottom of this skirt piece now. Okay, and I think that that's, you know, it's you can see that it's a very basic shape. So I'm going to try that. The way, with the amount of fabric I have, I might end up I'd rather have the length and do a short sleeve. I'm going to be honest with you. So we'll see. Or maybe I can find something different for the sleeves. So I'll work on that during the week, and I'll come back next week and tell you what my final decision is. But we have our center back, we have our side seam, and I'm going to just put this aside for now. I'm going to cut it off right here so I can do the front. So I'm just going to pin these two together with it. So here's my back and my front. Okay, and let me just give you a total view of what this whole thing is going to look like now. So there's the bodice and the skirt. Okay, you can see I'm making a little bit of a, it'll be a little bit of a waist seam in there. All right, so that's my back. And again, I'm just going to pin those together so I don't lose anything. And then let's get the fronts out now. Okay, so for the front, I can do the same thing. I'm going to get rid of the princess seam, and I'm going to tape these together as far down as I can, like this. And I'm going to hold it down like this. And then I'm going to just tape this together like that. All right, so you can see I've got my little below the bust seam. I don't know how that's going to work out because this seam is going way above my apex, so I might need to play with shortening this dart or figuring out what I'm going to do, because my apex is, you know, down here somewhere, and this is going up to here. So I'm going to have to play with that and see if I can maybe fill it in a little bit and just shorten that dart a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. But basically that's going to be the top of the front. And then let's see if I can do this correctly the first time. I'm going to go ahead and draw this line right here. Okay. I'm going to go like this for my center. I'm just going to give myself a little right angle here. Okay, and then I'm going to take, oh, these, wait a minute, before I do this, let me look at this for a second. So, okay, so these, if I attach these, you can see there's almost no, it would just be, this would be one piece with no dart, because I can put these right together like this. So let's go ahead and put those together. Like this. So it'll be a bust dart to nothing, because these match. All right, so it's almost like I close the bottom half of this dart, and I'll just have one dart there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this to my paper. And again, I want to make sure this is going to be straight. So I'm going to put my ruler right here. So when I tape this on, my center front, it's going to be like this. I don't know why that has a curve to it. It's probably the way I cut it out. Oh, I taped them together wrong. Okay. All right. I'm a dum-dum. All right, hold on. I taped them together wrong. That's why they went together so nicely. I was wondering about that. It goes like this. So now you can see if I tape these together like this, that makes more sense. Silly me. There is a gap. So I think I'm going to, let me just tape it together right here. And I want to make sure I tape it straight because it was straight, a straight line here. So let me just make sure this is straight. I'm using the grid on my board. Oh, Tana says sheer bishop sleeves would be cool. That's true. Or I did a lantern sleeve that would be really cool, similar to a bishop sleeve. I don't want to make it poofy up on top, but I could do a sleeve that has flare down at my wrist. And Victoria says, question, if you move the bust dart down to the hem but don't sew it, will you have excess fabric flaring out? You would have excess fabric flaring out. So I'm not going to do that because that would make a lot of flare because it's a long distance between the bust dart and the the hem. Okay, so this one is on the straight. This is the center front edge. This one I'm just going to touch right here, and it's going to dip down a little bit, but if I sewed it up, it would straighten out. Does that make sense? So see, if I sewed it, it would straighten back out. So I'm just going to touch this right here, and I'm going to put a piece of tape. But then what I'm going to do is, because they touch here and they touch here, so obviously I need to make this dart, I need to make this bigger, because, so I think I can make it bigger simply by, so I'm actually going to make it, I'm going to put it together like this. So I'm actually building more of a dart in there, so I'm tipping it a little bit farther away so I have something to sew back up, if that makes sense to everybody. So it will dip down like that. Okay, so see how that shape now is. When I sew these together, I'll have like a little, you know, like a short waist dart, you know, built into this, because remember, my waist is down here somewhere, so this will just fit the under part of the bust. Oh, Victoria says, I'm asking about a dress pattern when I use to make a nightgown. Oh, well, if you want to remove the bust dart and pivot it down to the hem to make a nightgown, that would be a perfect idea. So you just close the dart, so you would rotate it, and then it would flare like this. So you definitely could do that, Victoria, and then you'd have more flare for a nightgown. Okay, so now this is what's going to get taped to right here. So I'm going to make sure this is straight here, like this. And I want to make sure this is straight right here, like this. Okay, so I just want to make sure this hangs straight. Like that. So it's straight all the way up like that. So see how I'm making sure that's laying straight, because this is my center front. I'm going to tape this, you know, and of course this drops down like that. Okay, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure, oh, we're going to do 15 inches, I said, right? No, what did I do over here? Oh my God, please tell me I don't have enough fabric. I mean, enough paper. Yeah, so, oh no, this, oh, 12. I only did 12 and 3/8. 12 and 3/8. Okay. So now I'm going to do 12 and 3/8. Puts me right here. So again, I'm going to draw a straight line across. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Move this up. So I measured 12 and 3/8. Then I'm going to oh, have fun in North Carolina, Victoria. That's fun. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go straight across here, and then I'm going to do 12 and I'm going to go right from here. This drops, remember this drops right here, but when this is sewn up, it'll pick up. You see what I'm saying? When you sew this shut, that will swing up, right? It's dropping because I spread that a little bit more, but I want to make sure that I get my 7.5 inches, which is right here. So I'm going to draw the same little guideline like this, and then I'm going to put my ruler at the tip of this, and I'm just going to flare out let me see something here. All right, in the back, I'm just looking at this. In the back, this lines right up with this and it goes straight. This might get funky. I'm just trying to decide if I should go from here. Well, let's just go from here and see what happens. I'll smooth that out. So I'm going to swing my ruler until it hits the little guideline right here. So I'm going to leave this right here until the ruler hits 12 3/8, which, oh, because that's lower, I don't have enough paper. 12 3/8 is down here. All right, so it's right here, 12 3/8. All right, it goes to here, actually. So my hem actually does this right now. I don't know, I'm gonna have to play with that and see how that's gonna work out for me. But basically, this is gonna connect to here now. All right, so there is the shape of the skirt. And then over here, I think what I'm gonna do is fill this in a little bit. I don't want to have such a, so see what I'm doing is I'm filling in, I'll color it in so you can see. I don't want that shape to be a tight corner like that, right? So I'm just curving that out. I'm gonna have to test this because, you know, I'm trying to transfer from a princess seam to just creating these darts now, so I think this is going to work. But this is the nice thing about working with half scale. I'm not going to waste a lot of fabric testing this theory. So now I've got my front and my back. Okay, so to finish this up, all I have to do is add seam allowances and then I can sew it together. So I'm not going to sew it together during Fab Fit Friday, but I am going to go ahead and add, I'm going to do 3/8 inch seam allowances here because it's a smaller pattern. I'll mark those in pink. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, and then of course, what I should do, let me just cut this off. All right, so this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this. I'm going to test sew this together, and I'll share the results with you next week. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to research how much fabric I actually need to make the complete dress that I'm trying to make here. And if I have to combine fabric or figure something out, I will do that for next week as well. So let me just finish up the seam allowance. Like this. All right, so there's that seam allowance. All right, I'm also going to need a center back seam allowance. All right, so I need more scraps. Let me get another piece of paper here. Oh, I have a piece right here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a long piece here, and then I can make my entire center front edge. Oh, that's annoying. I'm going to turn this upside down like this. So I can do my entire center front edge like this. One of my favorite things to say is tape it like you mean it. So I'm going to tape it like I mean it, meaning I'm going to shellac the entire thing with tape, so I can make sure I don't lose anything. Okay, so I'm going to add my my 3/8 over here. Oh, actually, no, this is center front, so no, the answer is no there. This is cut on fold. So let me see if I can, I'm just going to cut this off here actually, because this is cut on fold, this is the front. All right, sorry about that. That was extra taping that did not need to happen there. So this is cut on fold here. And then I'm just going to cut off the rest of this. I'll worry about what this hem is doing later. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in. Well, actually, I'm just going to take a piece of paper here and I'm going to just lay this right here. I might as well, because I have to add seam allowance here and I have to fill this in as well. Oh, hey Diane, welcome. You're watching the replay. I'm designing a dress for a holiday, for the holidays, and I'll just show you. I saved a scrap here to show you. This is what the fabric looks like. Anyone who's coming in late, I'll just show it again. It's got this beaded, like, see the beads? I only have 2.5 yards of it though, so I'm going to have to probably combine it with something else. So there's the fabric I'm going to be working with. And let me just put this back. So again, because I'm going to fill this in and also add a seam allowance, I think it'll just be neater to just tape the whole thing down and do it all in one shot instead of adding all the little strips of paper. So I'm just going to tape this all down. Okay, and then I'm going to add, I'm going to mark, this is my stitching line for my dart right here, right, and then I'm going to add my 3/8 inch seam allowance here, like this, and my 3/8 inch seam allowance here, like this, and then to get the shape above the dart, I'm going to cut this off. Oops. And I'm just going to cut it like this, and then I'm going to cut this off too, this extra. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this dart shut like this. Like that. So if I've got it folded like that, then when I cut off the extra, now I've got my completed lower skirt piece, and then my let's just tape this. And actually, just to make this neat and tidy, instead of doing all the taping, I think I'm just going to trace around this and add seam allowances, because that will save me tape. So I'm going to line this up with the edge here, like this, with the grid. Okay, and then I'm just going to draw in my center front. I'm going to trace my neckline. I'm going to trace my shoulder. I'm going to trace my armhole. Trace it like this. My side seam. And then I can just trace this over here. I'm going to trace this over here. Okay, and then let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to trace this off right here. You know, the dart that I have. But then I'm gonna lower it a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's remove this now. I'll save this for later, but oops, I didn't do my neckline. Hold on. Or I didn't do a good job with my neckline. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do for this, okay, I know based on what this is, I mean, this is hitting my lower bust, so I'm gonna go ahead and lower this. I'm gonna lower this to here. I'm gonna cut off 1.5 inches here. Okay, and then I'm going to just redraw my dart like this, and I'm going to have to test it. So my dart is now going to be like this. Okay, actually I'll make this dark, and I'm just gonna leave that little bit in there. We'll see what happens. But what I want to do here is I want to obviously add seam allowance, and again I'm just doing 3/8 here. Like this. Like this. Like this. This. All right. And that's just going to come straight up to a cut on fold situation. This is cut on fold. And then I also need my 3/8 here. And my 3/8 here. And then again, I'm going to fold this to get the bottom. Oh, Diane says pretty fabric. Thank you, Diane. It was gifted to me by a friend. So instead of just sticking it in my closet, I'm actually going to make something right out of it. So I felt like it's a perfect holiday fabric. All right, so now I've got my bodice piece. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to close this. I'm just going to extend this down here like this. I'm going to close this the best I can. Now obviously this is going to be hard to get it to lay flat, but you can see the cup shape it's going to make, right? And then I'm just going to cut this off, well, that's even like that. And then that creates the shape for the dart right there, see? All right, so I've got my front all set. I'm very interested to see how this sews together. All right, so there's my front. Here's my other front. So there is the completed front pattern. Okay. So we're going to try that. And then I'm just going to true up, or I'm going to do the same thing to the back. I don't think I'm going to take time during Fab Fit Friday, but basically I'm going to do the exact same thing to my back, and then I'm going to sew it together, and I'm going to see how it looks. And I will post a picture. Let me just move my camera out of the way here. I will post a picture of the mini version so you can see how it looks, and then I'll decide, you know, what my fabric situation is going to be. If I like the way it looks in the half scale, I'm going to make the full-size pieces during the week, and then I'm going to lay them on the fabric to see what I have to do to use this fabric, but also, you know, have enough fabric or find another fabric, because I don't, 2.5 yards is not going to be enough for me to make a long dress as I originally designed. So we'll see how that works out. But this was really fun for me to nerd around with this pattern. I'm going to try these shapes. I'm going to see what happens. If anybody wants to work on a holiday dress, please join me. If you have questions about patterns or patterns and fabric going together, you can certainly ask me questions. If you're in my J Stern Designs YouTube Insider Club, please post your questions in there. So when we answer it, it might inspire members in there. And if you're not in the club, post your questions under the video and I'll answer them. If you're in my Facebook group, you can also post pictures and questions there. So, just so we can share what everyone's doing. So I hope somebody out there wants to sew a holiday dress with me. All right, so Victoria says, it's just so awesome to watch your genius pattern mind go at work. Well, I don't know if it's genius, but I do really enjoy playing with the pattern pieces, and this is really fun for me. So, but it's also reminding me how powerful, and I'm just going to get her out to show you again, how powerful having, a little half scale body double is going to be, so I don't have to waste a ton of fabric to test my theory on my genius pattern mind, because my genius pattern mind might have not been so genius. We'll see. So join me next Friday for the mini version mock-up. I'm hoping I'll have the pattern pieces all ready to go as well, because remember, I do have the full-size set. So if this works, I'm just going to adjust the full-size set just like I adjusted the half-scale set, and then I'll be able to, work with that. And I don't think I'm going to make a muslin of my full size, because I know the full size fits. I did some fine-tuning on there, and I'm happy with the way the muslin back there is fitting me. So, I'm going to work it out in my half-scale, and then I'm hoping by next week I will have everything ready to go. And then we'll talk about all the things you need to have in addition to your fabric to construct a holiday dress. So that's gonna be my plan for the week. I want to thank everybody for watching, because I didn't get home until very late Monday. Actually, it was probably Tuesday morning by the time I got home. So anyway, I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, Pat says, always a treat to watch. Well, thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. All right, you guys, I'm signing off. Have a great rest of your day. Okay. Oh, black dress with colorful accessories. Well, Mary, if I decide to do that ribbon around the impure waist, it's going to be a color. Maybe I'll get like a Christmas red or a hunter green, like something really bright to liven it up. So there's definitely going to be a bright ribbon. That's what I'm also going to look for. So there. So maybe I'll even have that ready to show you next week. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day. Mary, I hope your bread comes out fabulous. And I thank everybody for watching, and I'm signing off. Okay, bye-bye.